I recently made both a no-hit Margit run and a video about parrying the Crucible Knight. In that video, I explained how the relatively straightforward timing of parry windows in the Crucible Knight fight was good prep for some of the more difficult iterations down the line. In doing both these videos, I wound up thinking a lot about the mechanics of parrying in Elden Ring. Previously, I'd watched a lot of videos that all explained precisely how timing of parries works in different ways. Here, I'm going to give my take on how to think about parrying and also break down Margit's moveset in particular. I think the best way to think about parry timing is to take a model attack, a hypothetical attack, in which there's almost no windup and in which the sword comes down at full speed. You will assume that with this attack, you want to hit parry as soon as the attack begins. Not the windup, not in the middle. As soon as you see the attack begin, you hit parry. That unit of measurement, minimal windup, full speed attack, is then the unit that you use to base your parries of other attacks on. For example, if an attack has a delayed windup but comes down at full speed, the only thing that's changed is the windup, which in turn means that you hit parry the second the windup is complete and the sword is about to begin its descent. This is going to be probably 80% of attacks. Most attacks in Elden Ring vary in windup speed, but the discharge of the attack itself is usually consistent. However, sometimes an attack will have both a windup and a slower attack speed itself, and Margit actually uses two of these in addition to his many delayed attacks. If you try to parry these the moment the windup ends, you will actually be too early with your parry and get hit, because you're parrying for a regularly paced attack on an attack that's actually lasting longer. If we take that model attack unit and overlay it onto this type of attack, we'll estimate that we should actually hit parry roughly in the middle of the slow attack itself, not on the windup. Margit in particular is a fantastic boss to learn how to parry on, because he's a step up, like I said before, from the Crucible Knight in terms of difficulty, but he's not wildly difficult either. It's definitely a challenge if you've never done it before, but it is very much a doable challenge. When you fight him later as Morgott, it's significantly harder, and the attacks are super fast and interspersed with a ton of unparryable attacks, so it can definitely get a lot worse than this. Margit's principal way of kind of messing you up is through delayed attacks. All of his non-magic melee attacks should be parryable. The good thing that I'm trying to showcase here is that you actually don't have to hit all of them. If you just hit most of them, or even 50% of them, and you have 5 Estus Flasks, something like that, if you mix in some good dodging, you can tank your way through this fight and survive like pretty easily. So even being able to parry a certain fraction of these fights makes it so much more accomplishable, and new players definitely struggle with it because his moveset is quite erratic. He can close distances really fast, and you don't typically have a very large health bar at this point, so being able to parry at least some of his attacks really has a transformative impact on your ability to execute this fight. Alright, let's take a look at some of his moveset. The first thing you're seeing is his rapid side attack. This is his principal attack, and it's also a perfect example of that model attack, that unit of parry measurement. You hit parry as soon as you see it begin, and base all of your other parries around how you do this one. This next one is a delayed overhand attack, and as you can see, because of the delayed windup full discharge speed, I am hitting parry right when the attack is at its apex, and that's just how you do a regular delayed attack. Another one he really likes is his two-handed overhead windup attack. Once again, you just hit parry as soon as the windup is done and the attack is about to begin. Now here we have one of those attacks that I was talking about that has both a delayed windup and a slightly delayed attack speed. And you can actually see that it's I'm not hitting parry the second that the windup ends and the attack begins. I'm hitting it fractionally after the attack begins. The sword is really already starting to come back down, and you only want to do that when the attack speed itself as well as the windup is delayed. And here's a second one that has a slightly delayed attack speed as well as a windup. And you'll see that the sword has just started to come back down again, only a tiny bit. So, you're delaying it just a tiny bit from the windup as well. One thing that really needs to be emphasized, though, is that it actually feels later in practice than it looks here. Just because of the processing speed of your brain and stuff, here it looks like 1 millisecond after the attack comes down, I've hit parry. But when you're actually playing, it really does feel like you're hitting it in the middle of the attack. So you should think about it that way, in addition to basing it off of these visual cues. All right, here's one that is in theory parryable, but I have only been able to parry literally one time. It's this kind of underhand uppercut thing. I don't know what it is. He just swoops it up from under the ground. It happens so quickly that I just can't do it. I'm lucky if I can dodge it. So that's my recommendation, is just dodge that one. But if you can react instantaneously, then you, in theory, can parry that one too. But I just can't. And the last one is this upper-handed jab. Again, this is just going to come down at a regular speed once it begins. So, like all delayed regular attacks, we just hit parry once the delay is done and the attack is about to begin.